Que Pasa Calexico? Welcome back to the podcast. Before we begin, like always, I want to thank my sponsors. I want to thank my OG sponsors, Sergio and Jake, my homies from Los Pichos. Thank you guys for sponsoring the podcast. I also want to thank David Castellum. He's also been a sponsor since day one. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home in the Imperial or San Diego counties, make sure you contact David at 760-235-9576. And I want to welcome my new sponsors, Camilo Garcia and Dylan Castillo. Thank you guys for becoming sponsors. I really appreciate it. And welcome to episode 100. Yep, this is episode 100. I can't believe that, I've been doing this for over 2 years now. My first episode aired on December 19, 2017. And, I had planned on getting somebody, quote unquote, famous celebrity type to be on this episode. But, due to scheduling and stuff like that, I've been stalling this episode, and I really want to, interview a lot of people. We're in election season, so there's a lot of people that candidates, or, I just talked to the people from Valle Bota. And yeah, there's a lot of people that I want to talk to right now, especially right now that it's election season, that I really had to get this going, quit stalling. So yeah, I decided just to record this episode by myself, kind of like come here and thank everybody that's been part of the podcast. Not only guests, but sponsors, my friends and family, people that have allowed me to record at their place, like the Yepes family, who allowed me for a long time to record at Calexico Brewing Company. Also want to thank Pati Chow from Golden Dragon here in Calexico. The last episodes I recorded out in the real world, I recorded at Golden Dragon here in Calexico. Also want to thank the Rebollar family. They let me record some of my episodes at Brownie's Diner in Brawley. And yeah, I mean, it's been a trip since day one. I think I started, the podcast with the mentality of, I think in my description I had like, oh yeah, I have a chip on my shoulder, and kind of like wanted to put people on the spot when it came to politics and stuff like that. But it evolved into this podcast of, having conversations with people here. Yeah, there's people that I talk that are politicians, but, for a while I focused on, local artists, people just in general from the Valley that were doing, positive things to help our community. I spent a lot of time on Instagram trying to find, guests and yeah, like I still interview politicians because I feel that I want to inform my community in terms of candidates, in terms of propositions, in terms of important dates that, that are coming up because of election season. And I think that's my way of giving back to the community, just making sure that people are informed. I try to be as unbiased as possible because my job is not to sway you to vote for some, a specific candidate or for a vote for a specific proposition, but just inform the community. And that's been my main goal. And I think the hardest part of having this podcast, because, I try to be as unbiased as I can, as partisan as I can. And it's hard when you live in a small community and people want to kind of sway you to, push this candidate more or promote this person or proposition. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not here to sway you to make a decision. It's up to you. I'm just giving you the information. And and like I said, it's been crazy. It's when people ask me what my podcast is about, it's super hard to pinpoint what it is, because I've talked to so many different people along the way. And with that said, I've made a lot of friends and relationships because of the people that I've interviewed on the podcast. I know I interviewed Alexandra Rahel, who's a reporter for our local news channel. And, we talked at least a couple times a week through Messenger, and like, we'll talk about stories that she's doing, or I'll give her some tips, or she'll give me some tips of people who should I talk to. And, a lot of people that I've interviewed on the podcast have, it's crazy because I've called them my friends. And my wife's like, what do you mean your friend? Yeah, like, well, I talked to him on Instagram, then I interviewed him, and I automatically put him on my friends list. But yeah, it's funny because, yeah, like I said, I've gone to make relationships with the people that I've interviewed. And some people that have also made the podcast better because I was able to talk to them. Influence on the podcast and how I was doing the podcast before the pandemic was Tony Slumps. He gave me a lot of good pointers. We had a lot of good conversation, and just keeping a schedule, promoting. He instilled that in me, but due to the pandemic, I stopped doing it. But I hope that once this all ends and I can have more guests and have a episode on the bank, I'll be able to do what I was doing before, where I would interview somebody, take a week to promote them, and then put out the interview. And that's something that Tony really, opened my eyes to how big promotion is in social media is, to get the podcast to grow. So yeah, I want to thank, Tony for that. Let's see what else. Yeah, like I said, the podcast has evolved from day one till today. Like I said, I really wanted to focus on politics and kind of like put people on the spot, but I think I did a couple of those interviews and I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like the conversation's not the same when you're just sitting there having a conversation. You're more relaxed. People feel a little bit more open to talk to you. So I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, maybe some of these things might come up in my episodes, but that's not the main goal of my podcast. My main goal is just to have a conversation and I don't know, it's just talking to people and getting to know them and maybe putting a spotlight on them and yeah, learning. I think the biggest thing is like for us to learn from the podcast. Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts that are funny, comedians just talking, but I also listen to a lot of podcasts that help me learn and grow. So that's also, I think, a big part of what I want to keep doing with my podcast. So yeah, let me see. Yeah, it's kind of hard, like, for me to just sit here and talk. I know this is going to be like a super short episode, but yeah, I just wanted to focus on the podcast and you, the listener. Just wanted to thank you for, being a listener, enjoying it. And I mean, I hope you're enjoying it. And yeah, you know what? Something that I really, really wanted to, I guess, talk and point out is that because of this, a lot of people that are starting podcasts have reached out to me and said, you know what? I look up to your podcast and what you're doing, and I want to get some pointers and see what I can do. Like Jesse Ruiz from In Regards to Myself podcast, was somebody that reached out to me and said that he really enjoyed what I did and that he wanted to like kind of like pick my brain as to podcasting and stuff like that. And a lot of people reached out to me in terms of podcasting and how to get started, how do you do it, this and that. And you know what, I'm more than willing to help anybody that wants to start a podcast. It's really fun to do. And it's a lot of, I mean, if you really want to get into it, it's really time consuming. Being this my 100th episode, I know that it's really, really time consuming, and you gotta make sure you schedule yourself, make sure you're doing things smart so that you don't work smarter, not harder. But yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot from that. And every time that people reach out to me and say like, oh, you know what, I feel like you're doing a good job and I kind of like want to do a podcast, it really makes me feel really good to know that people really enjoy what I'm doing. Because I enjoy what I'm doing. I really have fun talking to all these people and, having these conversations and when people reach out to me and say like, oh, this episode was really cool. I really enjoy what you guys were talking about. It's really really rewarding. It's really rewarding. So yeah, let's see. What else did I have here in my notes? Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of good conversations with a lot of people that I even look up to. Like Tony Slums, Ernesto Llerena. Somebody that I've really enjoyed talking to is John Moreno. He has a lot of really good stories about Calexico, and I know each city has a John Moreno that people that grew up and lived all of their lives in a specific city here in the valley that have amazing stories just like him. And yeah, that's somebody I really enjoy talking to. Gil Revelar is somebody that I really enjoy talking to. And yeah, it's been really really fun, like I said. And let's see what else. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like I said, this is gonna be a really really short one, and I just mainly wanted to focus on thanking everybody, thanking my sponsors, thanking the listeners, thanking my guests, thanking my wife and kids and friends and family for, like I said, this takes time. So, I'm away from, sometimes I might be away from my wife and kids because I'm going to go do an interview, but I try to schedule everything so that it doesn't impede with, activities that we have going on. But yeah, like at the end of the day, like, yeah, I'm sitting, having a conversation with whoever I'm interviewing for like an hour, and then, coming back home and editing. So like it's a little bit time consuming. So, yeah, I want to thank them for, letting me, spend this time doing the podcast. Also, I wanted to kind of like do a little call to action. I know I had a list of people that I wanted to interview for episode 100 that are, what do you call it? Yeah, like I said, celebrities, people that are here from the valley or grew up here in the valley that are now, people that are influential that might be able to, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're finally in stage 2 in our local businesses and so people are trying to recover from what has happened. So like, yeah, I want to do a little call to action to all those people that could help the valley, recover a little bit faster. People like Ezra Ochoa, let's see who else. Donald Logue. He's from the valley. He's a really good actor that I had in mind to interview. Let's see who else did I have here that. Andy Ruiz, Eddie Suco, Royce Freeman. All these people that grew up from the valley that that could help us, recover. I don't know, like if there's an event, maybe show up and get more people to get involved. There's a lot of things that these people that are influential can do to get the valley together, maybe unite us. So like if these people, reach out to them and tell them like, you're here from the valley, we're going through these hard times. Maybe show up to one of our local events once we are able to hang out and do local events. That will really help. It doesn't really take much from them just to show up and get more people involved into our community events. So yeah, if you know them, reach out to them and let them know that they could really help out the valley these next couple of months once we start, reopening 100%. But yeah, I don't know what else to say, but yeah. Oh, I also want to thank Ricky from Redline Scene and Redline Studios for this amazing mic. I hadn't used this mic since before the pandemic, before, like the last episode I used it. I think it was with Bill Hodge. And it's an amazing mic. It's an amazing gift that he gave to me. And I really missed using it because it's, like I said, it's an amazing mic. And shout out to Ricky and Redline Scene and Redline Studios. I know they're really itching to be out there and having events for the community. So yeah, make sure to follow them on Instagram, Redline Scene and Redline Studios. But yeah, with that said, I just want to thank you guys again for listening. Just make sure to, share the podcast with a friend. If you know somebody that likes listening to podcasting, share this podcast with them. And even if they don't, get them into a podcast. It might not be this one because not all podcasts are for everybody. And that's something that I also wanted to mention is that I know that there's times when I'll interview somebody that you don't agree with or you don't like, but like me, I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, Joe Rogan Experience, and not all of his guests I enjoy. So what do? I just don't listen to that episode, and I come back and listen to the next one that might be somebody that or something that I'm interested in. But make sure you get more people into podcasting to listen to podcasts, because it's a really good way to get stay informed. Or just distract, because there's a lot of really good comedy podcasts out there. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for supporting the podcast. I've really enjoyed these 100 episodes. I've met and learned a lot from a lot of the people that I talked to, and I want to keep doing it. So hopefully for the 200th episode, I'll have somebody like a local celebrity guest. But for this one, because I want to keep the podcast episodes going out, I just wanted to get on here and thank you and just go on with the show. So yeah, thank you guys for listening or watching, whichever you do. Make sure you like, subscribe on YouTube, and if you're listening on a specific podcast app, make sure you subscribe as well. It really helps you know when the next episode is out. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Stay safe. Make sure that we help the valley stay open by staying safe. Wear your mask, wash your hands, keep your distance. Stay cool, because it's super hot these next couple of days. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. Peace.